Welcome to today's deep dive, all about how tiny changes can unlock huge personal growth.
Sounds exciting.
We're going to be taking a look at James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah. I love that book.
This one's basically a roadmap for anyone trying to reach their goals or break a bad habit,
Yeah,
or even just trying to understand how those little things we do every day can actually lead to big results.
absolutely. It's amazing how this book really resonates with such a wide range of people.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're looking to transform your health or your career
Yeah.
or, pretty much any aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Clear just provides these practical insights into the science of habit formation.
It's not just like fluffy self-help.
Right.
He actually breaks down the why behind habits.
Yeah.
And then gives you this framework for actually putting those insights into action.
I love that about it.
Oh, and he even drops this fact that improving just 1% each day can lead to a 37-fold improvement in a year.
Ooh,
Blew my mind.
that's incredible. That's the power of compounding in action.
It's like compound interest, but for your habits.
Exactly. Those small, consistent actions, they seem so insignificant at first,
Yeah.
but over time, they accumulate and create this snowball effect.
So it's not about making these drastic, unsustainable changes.
No.
It's about those consistent little adjustments
Right.
that add up over time.
Exactly. And one of the key concepts that Clear emphasizes is this difference between goals and systems.
Oh, goals versus systems. I'm all ears.
We often get so fixated on goals,
Yeah.
but goals are really just the destination.
Okay.
Systems are the vehicle that gets us there.
I like that analogy.
So think about it this way. Let's say your goal is to run a marathon.
Okay. Yeah.
That's great. You have a clear target.
Yeah.
But how do you actually get there?
Right.
That's where systems come in. Your system is your daily training plan,
Yeah.
your nutrition strategy,
Okay.
your recovery routines, all of those things that actually enable you to run that marathon.
So it's not just about setting that big, ambitious goal.
Right.
It's about designing a system that supports you every step of the way.
Precisely. It's about shifting from a goal-oriented mindset to a systems-oriented one.
Okay.
Goals can be really motivating,
Yeah.
but they're often short-term
Right.
and can actually limit our focus.
I can see that.
Systems, on the other hand, provide this framework for continuous improvement,
Okay.
for lasting change.
I see. So it's about that long game.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. But not everyone is out there training for a marathon.
Right.
How would this idea of systems apply to something like, let's say, someone wanting to read more books?
Great question.
Yeah.
Let's say your goal is to read one book a week.
Okay.
Your system might involve setting aside a specific time each day for reading,
Okay.
maybe joining a book club,
Yeah.
or even just keeping your book in a place where you're constantly going to see it.
Right. Out in the open.
Yeah, like on your bedside table instead of tucked away in a drawer.
It's about making it more obvious.
Exactly.
More accessible.
Yes, it's about reducing that friction associated with reading
Yeah.
and increasing the friction associated with those activities that might be competing for your attention.
I like this idea of friction.
Right.
It's like those tiny obstacles that either make or break a habit.
Yeah.
And that actually segues perfectly into Clear's 4 laws of behavior change.
Yeah.
These laws are essentially a set of rules for building good habits and breaking bad ones.
They really are the foundation of atomic habits.
Think of it as your toolkit for habit transformation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
So let's dive into those laws. What's the first one?
The first law is make it obvious.
Make it obvious.
So this is all about bringing awareness to your habits
Okay.
and making the cues that trigger those habits stand out.
So it's about like shining a spotlight on those habits.
Exactly.
Making them more noticeable and intentional.
Yes. And Clear introduces some really cool tactics for making habits more obvious. One of them is habit stacking.
Habit stacking. Tell me more.
It's basically linking a new habit to an existing one.
Okay.
So let's say you want to start meditating for 5 minutes each day,
Yeah.
but you're struggling to find the time.
Yeah. Relatable.
You could stack that new habit onto an existing one, like brushing your teeth.
Okay.
So after you brush your teeth, you meditate.
Okay.
Brushing your teeth becomes your cue to meditate.
So then it's like almost automatic. You're already in the bathroom.
Right,
You got your toothbrush out.
right.
It makes sense. So what are some other tactics that Clear recommends for making those habits obvious?
Another really powerful technique is using implementation intentions.
Implementation intention.
Yeah, so it's about getting super specific about when and where you'll perform a habit.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I'll work out more,
Yeah.
you would say, I will work out for 30 minutes at 7 a.m. in my living room.
Wow, that's way more actionable.
Right.
You're removing any ambiguity, any room for excuses.
Yeah, you're making a commitment.
You're putting it in the schedule. I like that.
Right. And the third tactic is all about environment design.
Environment design.
It's the idea that your surroundings can either support or sabotage your habits. You
Interesting.
want to design your environment to make those desired behaviors more obvious
Okay.
and accessible.
So setting yourself up for success.
Precisely.
Making the good choices the easy choices.
Exactly. If you want to eat more fruit, put a bowl of fruit on the counter where you can see it.
Oh, yeah. Out in the open.
If you're trying to reduce your screen time, put your phone in a drawer when you're working.
Yeah.
Or in another room.
You're minimizing the friction
Exactly.
associated with good habits.
And increasing the friction associated with the bad ones.
Right. I see how all of this ties together.
It does. And that brings us to our second law.
Okay.
Make it attractive.
Make it attractive.
Yeah.
How do we make a habit attractive? Can we dress them up in fancy clothes?
You know, one way to make habits more attractive is through a technique called temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling. Okay, that sounds kind of dangerous, but I'm intrigued.
It's actually quite clever. It's about pairing an action you want to do with one you need to do.
Okay.
For example, if you love listening to podcasts,
Oh, I do.
but you struggle to find time to exercise,
Yeah.
you could bundle those two activities. Only allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while you're working out.
Oh, that's smart.
Right.
So you're kind of like rewarding yourself.
Exactly. You're making the habit more appealing.
Right. So that makes sense. I see. Okay. What
Well,
else?
another element of making a habit attractive is your social environment.
Social environment. Yeah.
We tend to adopt the habits of those around us.
Oh, it's so true.
Right.
Peer pressure, but in like a good way.
Exactly.
Positive peer pressure.
If you surround yourself with people who embody the habits that you want to develop,
Yeah.
it can be incredibly powerful.
I can see that. Yeah.
You know, think about it. If everyone in your circle is going for a morning run,
Uh-huh.
you're much more likely to lace up your shoes and join them.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're not going to want to be left out.
Right. So it's like having a built-in support system,
Yeah.
encouraging you to stay on track.
And there's a biological component to this as well.
Yes,
Right? Something to do with dopamine.
you're right. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Dopamine.
Yeah.
That feel-good neurotransmitter is released when we engage in pleasurable activities.
So if we can associate our habits with those good feelings,
Exactly.
we're more likely to stick with them.
You're essentially hacking your brain's reward system
Okay.
by linking those good habits to those bursts of dopamine.
So we're tricking our brains into liking the things we want to like.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Now let's move on to the third law. Make it easy.
Make it easy.
As you might guess, this one is all about reducing friction.
I'm sensing a theme here. Make it obvious.
Right.
Make it attractive.
Wow.
Make it easy. It's like Clear is all about removing those obstacles that prevent us from forming those good habits.
He absolutely is.
Yeah.
The easier it is to do something,
Right.
the more likely you are to actually do it.
So what are some like concrete ways that we can make habits easier? How do we put this into practice?
One simple strategy is to reduce friction by preparing in advance.
Okay.
If you want to start exercising in the morning,
Yeah.
lay out your workout clothes the night before.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
You're taking out that decision point out of the equation.
Exactly. When you wake up,
Yeah.
you don't have to think about what to wear. You just grab your clothes and go.
It's like automating the process.
Exactly. And Clear also talks about the 2-minute rule.
Oh, the 2-minute rule.
The idea here is to start with habits that take 2 minutes or less to complete.
Okay.
This lowers the barrier to entry and helps you build consistency.
You're tricking yourself into starting. And then once you've done those 2 minutes, you're more likely to just keep going.
You got it. And finally, we can leverage technology and tools to automate good habits.
Okay.
Think about setting up automatic savings transfers
Yeah.
or using a meal planning app
Okay.
to simplify healthy eating.
I like this idea of automating things.
Right.
It just takes the willpower out of the equation.
Exactly.
So we've got make it obvious,
Uh-huh.
make it attractive,
Yeah.
and make it easy. What's that final law?
The fourth law is make it satisfying.
Make it satisfying. Okay.
So this is all about reinforcing those habits by making them rewarding.
It's like giving ourselves those little pats on the back for a job well done.
Exactly. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure.
Right.
So if a habit is satisfying,
Yeah.
we're more likely to repeat it.
But sometimes don't we get that satisfaction from completing the task already? Like, why do we need to add in those extra rewards?
You're right, sometimes the feeling of accomplishment is enough.
Right.
But often, especially when we're forming new habits, those intrinsic rewards just aren't strong enough to keep us going.
I see.
That's where those external rewards come in.
So it's like an extra boost.
Right.
It's a little motivation. So what are some examples of how we can make those habits more satisfying?
Well, one technique is to use immediate rewards.
Okay.
Let's say you're trying to establish a daily writing habit.
Okay. Yeah.
You could reward yourself with a cup of coffee or a short walk in nature after you've completed your writing session.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Linking it to something enjoyable.
Exactly. Makes the whole process more appealing.
Yeah, for sure.
What other strategies does Clear recommend? Habit tracking can also be incredibly satisfying.
Habit track.
It gives you a sense of accomplishment and allows you to visualize your progress.
Yeah.
You can use a simple notebook, a habit tracking app,
Right.
or even a calendar
Yeah.
to just mark off each day you successfully complete your habit.
I've done that, and it's really surprisingly motivating.
It is.
Just seeing those streaks.
It's visual.
Yeah.
It's a reminder.
a reminder of your commitment.
And don't underestimate the power of accountability partners.
Oh, an accountability partner.
Working with someone who shares your goals can provide support,
Okay.
encouragement,
Yeah.
a little nudge when you need it most.
It's like your own personal cheerleader.
Exactly. Okay, so we got the 4 laws. Make it obvious.
Yeah.
Make it attractive.
Uh-huh.
Make it easy.
Yep.
And make it satisfying.
Make it satisfying.
These laws are super valuable for building good habits.
Yes.
But can we use them to break bad habits as well?
That is a great question, and yes, we can.
Mm.
These laws can be inverted to help you break those unwanted behaviors.
Okay.
Instead of making a bad habit obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying,
Right.
you do the opposite.
Flip the script.
Yeah, you make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
So if I'm trying to cut back on social media,
Uh-huh.
maybe I log out of my accounts.
Yeah. Delete the apps.
Yes.
Use one of those website blockers.
Absolutely.
You're making it less appealing.
Exactly.
Harder to engage in.
And this aligns with the idea of environment design,
Right.
right? By modifying your surroundings,
Yeah.
you can make it easier to resist those temptations.
It's like we're taking all of this knowledge about habit formation, and we can actually use it to our advantage.
Yes.
Whether we're trying to build good habits
Absolutely.
or break bad ones.
It's brilliant.
This is so interesting, and we've covered those foundational 4 laws of behavior change,
Yes.
but I know Clear doesn't stop there.
No, he doesn't.
He dives into some more advanced tactics for habit mastery,
Yes, he does.
and I'm really curious to hear about those.
You're absolutely right. The 4 laws are really just the beginning.
Okay.
Once you've kind of mastered those foundational principles,
Yeah.
Clear, it introduces these really interesting advanced tactics
Okay.
that can kind of take your habit building skills to the next level.
Advanced tactics. Okay, I'm officially intrigued. What are we talking about here?
Well, one that I find particularly fascinating is the Goldilocks rule.
The Goldilocks rule. Okay, does this have anything to do with porridge?
Not quite, huh?
Oh, okay.
Although the name is pretty fitting,
Okay.
the Goldilocks rule suggests that habits are most likely to stick when they're challenging enough to keep us engaged,
Okay.
but not so difficult that they lead to burnout.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Exactly.
Like if I'm trying to get back into running,
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't start by trying to run a marathon.
Exactly. You want to start with a distance that challenges you but doesn't completely overwhelm you.
Okay.
Maybe you start with a mile or even just a few blocks.
Right.
The key is to gradually increase the difficulty as you get stronger
Right. Okay.
and more confident.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
So if it's too easy, we get bored.
Right.
But if it's too hard, then we get discouraged and give up.
Exactly.
It's about finding that personalized, like, growth zone.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. It's about finding that optimal challenge level where you're pushing yourself just enough to stay motivated,
Right.
but not so much that you burn out.
So it's not about setting those, like, rigid rules or expectations.
Right.
It's about being flexible,
Yeah,
adaptable.
precisely. It's about listening to your body,
Mhm.
paying attention to your energy levels,
Yeah.
and adjusting your habits accordingly.
I see. So it's about that, like, self-awareness piece as
Yeah.
well.
Exactly.
You know, this whole idea of adjusting reminds me of another point that Clear really emphasizes,
Okay.
and that's the importance of habit reflection and review.
Oh, that's such a crucial part of the process.
Right.
It's not enough to just set a habit and then kind of go on autopilot.
Right.
We need to regularly step back and assess whether our habits are still serving us.
So it's about taking a more proactive approach to habit formation,
Exactly.
not just like blindly following a routine.
Clear recommends setting aside time for regular habit reflection, maybe weekly or monthly.
Okay.
During these reviews, you're asking yourself questions like,
Okay.
what habits are working well for me?
Right.
Which ones are no longer serving me?
Yeah.
Do I need to make any adjustments to my approach?
It's like a progress check.
Exactly.
For your habit.
You're making sure that they're still aligned with your goals and your overall direction.
Right. Because things change.
Yes.
Life changes and we change. So that makes sense.
And this concept of ownership leads us to one of the most powerful ideas in Atomic Habits,
Okay.
building identity-based habits.
Yes. We touched on this earlier, but I'd love to kind of go a little bit deeper here.
Okay.
So remind me again, what are identity-based habits and why are they so important?
So identity-based habits are habits that are aligned with the person you want to become.
Okay.
They're not just actions you take, but they're reflections of your desired self-image. For example, if you see yourself as a healthy person,
Yeah.
you might develop habits like cooking nutritious meals,
Okay.
exercising regularly,
Right.
and getting enough sleep.
It's not just about doing the habit.
Right.
It's about becoming the type of person who naturally embodies that habit.
You got it.
Like, I want to be a writer.
Uh-huh.
I have to start thinking of myself as a writer.
Yes.
Not just someone who occasionally, like, scribbles down a few words.
It's about shifting your self-perception through consistent action.
I see. Okay.
You know, it's like saying to yourself, I am a writer.
Right.
And then backing that up with your daily habits.
Yeah.
You know, writing every day, seeking out feedback, attending workshops.
I'm starting to see how this could be really powerful.
Yeah,
It's like you're creating this positive feedback loop
exactly.
where your actions reinforce your beliefs about yourself.
Yeah.
And then those beliefs motivate you to continue those actions.
It's about aligning your behaviors with your desired identity.
So what about, there are times when our current identity, like, clashes with the identity we're trying to cultivate.
Right.
What if there's this, like, disconnect between who we are and who we want to become?
Right.
How do we overcome those, like, identity-based barriers?
That's such a great question. It's true. We all have ingrained beliefs about ourselves.
Right.
And sometimes those beliefs can hold us back.
Yeah, totally.
For example, if you keep telling yourself, I'm not a morning person,
Right.
that belief can become a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah,
making it really hard to establish a morning routine.
that's so true. So how do we break free from those, like, limiting self-perceptions? How do we convince ourselves that we actually can change?
It starts with taking those small, consistent actions
Okay.
that challenge those old beliefs.
Okay.
So if you want to be a morning person, but you're currently, hitting the snooze button 5 times every morning,
Yeah.
start by setting your alarm just 15 minutes earlier.
Okay.
Once you've mastered that,
Yeah.
set it another 15 minutes earlier.
So you're slowly chipping away at that old identity, proving to yourself that you actually can be a morning person.
And as you continue to act in alignment with that desired identity,
Yeah.
your self-perception begins to shift.
Okay.
You start to think, well, maybe I'm not a complete night owl after all.
Right.
Maybe I actually can enjoy waking up early.
You're rewiring your brain.
You're exactly right. It's a process of gradual transformation,
Okay.
and it all starts with those small, consistent actions.
I love this. This is really inspiring, but,
Yeah.
I have to admit, there's a part of me that's still a little skeptical.
Right.
What about those times when, life throws us a curveball?
Oh.
What about those, like, unexpected setbacks that can kind of derail our best intentions?
Oh, I think we've all been there. Life definitely has a way of testing our commitment to our habits.
Right.
But here's the good news.
Okay.
Clear offers some really practical advice for dealing with those inevitable challenges.
Okay.
He talks about strategies for breaking bad habits,
Oh.
overcoming plateaus,
Yeah.
and recovering from setbacks.
That's so reassuring. It's like having a roadmap
Yeah.
for those, like, bumps in the road.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about breaking bad habits.
Yeah.
What are some effective strategies? Like, how do we ditch those unwanted behaviors?
Well, one powerful approach is to use the inversion of the 4 laws that we discussed earlier.
Okay, yeah.
Remember, instead of making a bad habit obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying,
Yeah.
you do the opposite. You make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
About the script.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to cut back on mindless snacking,
Yeah.
I might hide the junk food in the back of the pantry.
Okay. Yeah.
Make those healthy snacks more accessible.
Right.
Find alternative activities to do when those cravings hit.
Yeah.
You're essentially making those unhealthy snacks less tempting
Right.
and more difficult to reach for.
So it's about like removing the temptation.
Exactly.
And this aligns with the idea of environment design.
Yeah.
Modifying your surroundings to make it harder
Yes.
to give in to those temptations.
Exactly. And another effective strategy for breaking bad habits is habit replacement.
Habit replacement.
Yes, instead of just trying to eliminate a bad habit,
Yeah.
you identify a more positive behavior to replace it with.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of just stopping doing something, you're starting something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For example, if you're trying to break the habit of staying up late scrolling through your phone,
Oh, yeah.
you might replace that with reading a book before bed.
Okay.
You're still engaging in a relaxing activity before sleep,
Right.
but it's a much healthier alternative.
So you're filling the void
Exactly.
with something positive and fulfilling.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about deprivation.
Yeah.
It's about redirection.
Redirection. That's a good word for it. Okay, so I've got replacing the habit.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes it's not about breaking a specific habit.
Right.
It's about dealing with those frustrating plateaus
Yes, the plateaus.
where you feel like progress just stalls.
Yeah.
What advice does Clear offer for overcoming those plateaus?
Well, first and foremost, it's important to remember that plateaus are a natural part of the growth process.
Okay,
They're not a sign of failure,
right.
but simply an indication that you might need to adjust your approach.
So instead of getting discouraged,
Right.
we should view those plateaus as like opportunities
Exactly.
for reflection and course correction.
One strategy that Clear suggests is to revisit the 4 laws.
Okay.
Are your habits still obvious,
Yeah.
attractive, easy, and satisfying?
Right.
If not, make some tweaks.
Okay.
Maybe you need to adjust the time of day you perform the habit,
Okay.
find a more enjoyable way to track your progress,
Right.
or seek out a new accountability partner.
It's like giving your habits a little tune-up,
Exactly.
making sure they're still running smoothly.
Make sure they're still effective. And what other strategies can we use to kind of like bust through those plateaus? Sometimes it's not about tweaking the habit itself,
Okay.
but about shifting your mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah. Are you focusing too much on the outcome
Mm.
and not enough on the process?
Right.
Are you comparing yourself to others instead of celebrating your own progress?
Ooh, that's a good point. It's so easy to like get caught up in the end goal that we forget to enjoy the journey.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to cultivate a growth mindset,
Okay.
a belief that you can continuously learn, improve, and adapt.
Right.
This mindset shift can help you navigate those plateaus
Yeah.
and setbacks
Okay.
with resilience
Yeah.
and determination.
So it's about embracing the journey,
Yes.
bumps and all,
Uh-huh.
and recognizing that those challenges are actually opportunities for growth.
Precisely.
I love that.
And speaking of setbacks, let's talk about those inevitable moments
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
when we stumble or fall off track.
Yeah.
How can we recover from those setbacks and get back on that path to habit mastery?
I think this is where, a lot of people struggle.
Yeah.
It's easy to like get discouraged
Yeah.
and give up after a setback.
Yeah.
It's like we feel like we failed
Uh-huh.
and we're tempted to just throw in the towel.
I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that setbacks are a normal part of the process.
Okay.
They don't mean you're a failure.
Right.
They
Yeah.
simply mean you're human.
Right.
The key is to embrace self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
Yes. And avoid the trap of self-criticism.
So instead of beating ourselves up for our mistakes, we should treat ourselves with, kindness and understanding.
Exactly. We acknowledge that we're not perfect,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Right.
It's about offering ourselves the same grace and forgiveness that we would extend to a loved one.
Oh, this idea of self-compassion is so important.
It is.
I think we forget to be kind to ourselves sometimes.
We do. And it's during those difficult times
Yeah.
that self-compassion is most crucial.
Right.
It allows us to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off,
Yeah.
and get back on track
Yeah.
without all of that negative self-talk weighing us down.
Absolutely. So how do we actually practice self-compassion when we're faced with those setbacks?
It starts with simply acknowledging
Okay.
that you've experienced a setback
Okay.
and that it's okay to feel disappointed or frustrated.
Right.
But instead of dwelling on those negative feelings,
Yeah.
try to shift your focus to learning from the experience.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what caused this setback?
Right.
What can I learn from it?
Right.
And how can I adjust my approach to prevent it from happening again?
So it's about turning those setbacks into like valuable insights
Exactly.
that can inform our future actions.
And just as important as analyzing the setback is getting back on track as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Don't let one slip up derail your entire progress.
So it's about hitting that reset button.
Precisely. Acknowledge it, learn from it, and then recommit to your habit
Okay.
with renewed determination.
Okay, so we've talked about breaking bad habits, dealing with plateaus, and recovering from setbacks. Wow, it feels like we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. It's been a great conversation.
Before we move on, I'm curious, what's kind of resonating with you most so far? What are some of the key takeaways that you think our listeners should really pay attention to?
It's been a really insightful conversation, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
I think one of the most powerful takeaways from Atomic Habits is that lasting change doesn't require like superhuman willpower
Right.
or these massive overnight transformations.
I agree.
It's about those small incremental changes
Yeah, those 1% improvements.
that accumulate over time.
And I think that's what's so empowering about it,
Right.
because it makes it accessible to everyone.
Exactly.
We don't have to wait for the perfect moment or like the perfect circumstances to start building better habits. We
Okay.
can start today.
Yes.
Right now.
With whatever we've got.
With whatever resources we have available to us.
Absolutely.
It's like we're taking back control of our lives.
Yes.
We're recognizing that we actually have the power to shape our future.
Yeah.
One small habit at a time.
Precisely. And one of the things that Clear does so well is he grounds these concepts in real life examples.
Yes, I love that about the book.
Yeah, the book is filled with these stories
Yeah.
of people who have used these principles to achieve these remarkable things,
Yes.
from Olympic athletes
Okay.
to successful entrepreneurs
Yeah.
to just everyday people
Yeah.
who have, transformed their health or their
Mhm.
relationships or
I remember reading about that woman
yes.
who lost over 100 pounds
I know.
by just making small changes to her eating habits
Yes.
and her exercise routine.
It's so inspiring.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And I think her story highlights like this key principle of Atomic Habits,
Yeah.
that it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Exactly.
It's about showing up consistently
Yes.
even when we don't feel like it.
Right.
And trusting that those small efforts are eventually going to lead to those like big results.
Yes, and I think this is where the concept of identity-based habits comes into play again.
Right.
Because if we can shift our self-perception,
Mm-hmm.
if we can start to see ourselves
Yeah.
as healthy people or productive people
Right.
or whatever identity it is that we're trying to cultivate,
Yeah.
those habits become an extension of who we are
Right.
rather than just a set of tasks
Yes.
that we're trying to check off our to-do list.
So it's like they become integrated into our sense of self.
Exactly. And as we continue to act in alignment with that desired identity,
Yeah.
it becomes easier and more natural to maintain those habits.
So it's like this positive feedback loop again.
Right.
Our actions reinforce our beliefs,
Yeah.
and then our beliefs motivate further action.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
How these seemingly simple principles can have such a profound impact on our lives.
It really is.
I think it speaks to the power of understanding human behavior.
Yeah.
Once we kind of grasp the science of habit formation,
Uh-huh.
we can start to leverage those insights to our advantage.
And that's what I love about Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's not just a collection of tips and tricks. It's like
Mhm.
a deep dive into the psychology of
Right.
why we do what we do.
Yes.
And with that knowledge, we can start to make those, more conscious choices
Yeah.
about the habits that we want to cultivate.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a really important point
Okay.
that I don't think we've explicitly talked about yet.
Okay.
The importance of being kind to ourselves throughout this process.
Oh, absolutely. Self-compassion.
Yeah, self-compassion is essential.
Right. Because there will inevitably be times when we, stumble or fall off track.
Exactly. We're all human.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
Right.
And it's so crucial to remember that those setbacks are not failures.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
simply opportunities for learning and growth.
So instead of beating ourselves up
Yeah.
when we slip up,
Yeah.
we should treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding
Absolutely.
that we would offer to a friend or a loved one.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we're doing the best that we can
Yeah.
with the resources that we have
Right.
at any given moment.
Yeah.
And when we approach this journey
Mm-hmm.
with that mindset of self-compassion,
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off
Yeah, for sure.
and allows us to actually enjoy the process.
It's about embracing the journey, bumps and all,
Beautifully said.
and celebrating those small victories along the way.
As we wrap up our deep dive into atomic habits,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question that Clears poses at the end of his book. What small habit could you start today that reflects the person you aspire to be?
That's such a powerful question.
It is.
It challenges us to connect our daily actions
Yeah.
with our deepest values and aspirations.
It's about bridging the gap between who we are today
Right.
and who we want to become tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it all starts with that one small step.
On that note, we'll leave you to ponder that question.
Yes.
What small habit will you embrace today to step into, the best version of yourself?
Love it.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into atomic habits.
I know.
Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and keep believing in the power of those tiny changes to create extraordinary results.